Welcome back to the Fat Guys and Friends podcast, NFL Preview Edition. Today we are doing the NFC East, as always joined by fellow fat man and good friend Colton Bartholomew. I'm Logan Wenger. Hi, Bart.
Wang! What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. You have a family member on the line.
Second family member that has been on the Fat Guys and Friends podcast. Today we have not really fat, but is a family member. My brother Zack. Zack, how you doing, bud?
How's it going? How are you guys doing?
Oh, we are good. We're ready to go, man. This is crazy for anyone that knows my family, because Zack caring about football is a new thing.
Or sports in general. Don't sell me short here.
Okay, or sports in general. But yes, here we are. Zack's gonna help us break down the NFC East, and as a transplant to Texas, he has adopted America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, as his own. So
that's right.
So
hey, I forgot to ask. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck it, man.
Okay.
Do what you want.
Okay, I just had to make sure.
All right. So today we're gonna be breaking down the NFC East. So that's the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, and the Redskins. Let's start out with a team that made a big move right around draft time and got up to the second overall pick. We're going to start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. Wang, what do you have for the biggest acquisitions and departures for Philadelphia this offseason?
They actually brought in a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't call them good pieces, but decent pieces. They signed Chase Daniel, Chris Givens, wide receiver from the Ravens, Ruben Randall from their own division from the Giants, Stefan Wisniewski, I don't think I'm saying that right, but it's fun to say, from the Jags. He's a solid offensive lineman. Otis McKelvin and Rodney McLeod from the Rams, all on their way to the Philadelphia Eagles.
And then for departures, they traded away pretty much all remnants of Chip Kelly.
Yeah. What they lost was Mark Sanchez, DeMarco Murray, Kiko Alonso, and Byron Maxwell. All people who Chip Kelly brought in, really trying to wash away any leftover stench of Chip Kelly. So hopefully they're going to go back to playing real football and not running up to the line and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even mentioning they got rid of D'Amico Ryans and Riley Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's favorite racist.
God, I don't condone what he said, but what he said was so goddamn funny.
For real. And it's like, you're at a Kenny Chesney concert. I don't think there are that many guys there.
For those who don't know, Riley Cooper was insanely drunk and was on video saying, "I'll fight every N-word in here." How many
It was
N-words
impressive.
were in there?
There couldn't have been many. But, like you mentioned, the Eagles are a really interesting story of when an experiment can go wrong in the NFL, because they brought in Chip Kelly. They were like, we're going to capitalize on this whole advanced no huddle, run as many plays as possible, and we're going to take the NFL by storm. But then they forgot that in the NFL, the margin of talent is, very tiny compared to college, where you can have, the 25 most talented guys in the field at the same time, as opposed to the NFL, where you might have, like, the two best at tops.
Yeah, the hurry-up offense isn't going to work in the NFL as well as it did in the Pac-12.
Yeah, that cradle of defense, the Pac-12.
Yeah, defensive powerhouses out west.
So, for the Eagles, we're going to see they kind of took a step back, like, in their fundamental idea of how they want to play, because they brought in Doug Peterson, who was the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. He's now their head coach. And, Wang, who is the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs?
That'd be Andy Reid.
That'd be Andy Reid,
Fellow fat
who
man
happened
Andy
to
Reid.
coach the Philadelphia Eagles for like 15 years. So they basically traded in Chip Kelly to go back to what they used to have in Andy Reid.
But you can't blame him, because Andy Reid was very successful in Philadelphia. I know he never won the Super Bowl, but They won the
Yeah,
East a
they were
bunch of
there.
times.
They won a lot of games. It's just funny to me how they went from, Andy Reid sucks, we need to do this whole new innovation, to let's go get his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, we miss Andy Reid.
Yeah. But, Zach, I know newfound Cowboy fandom. Obviously, I'm sure you've learned to hate everyone in your division, but the Eagles hold a special place in your heart of hate. How do you feel about the
They
Eagles?
sure do. Well, I had a question about this Chip Kelly discussion you guys had going on.
Sure.
And is Sam Bradford smart enough to run what Chip Kelly was trying to do?
That is a legitimate question. Sam Bradford
Because
got a lot of hype because he was a first-round pick and got that monster contract as a rookie. But he never has proven anything to be like that good, in my opinion.
No.
So, I mean, there is a legitimate point to be made there that Sam Bradford might not have been able to do what Chip Kelly was asking. But at a certain point, as a coach, even if you have a style you want to run, if you figure out that your players aren't able to or it's just not working, you've got to adjust, and Chip Kelly wasn't willing to do that.
I only ask because every picture I've ever seen of Sam Bradford, he looks like a big, dumb idiot staring off into space, wondering when lunch is coming around. So, I wasn't too sure.
My favorite nickname for Sam Bradford is Floppy Sleeves that Colin Cowherd gave to him, because he looks like a high school high school quarterback that somehow stumbled onto an NFL field. Why are his sleeves so floppy? I don't get it.
For real. And it's like him and Peyton Manning were like the last two quarterbacks that didn't have at least a tighter jersey. Peyton Manning's out there in like a 6X.
Yeah, but making it look good because he's an NFL quarterback.
True. Defensively, the Eagles were rough last season, and it had a lot to do with the fact that they didn't care about defense, in my opinion, and were expecting the offense to put up 48 points, and the defense could be tired the whole game. But they played the most snaps defensively of any team last year, which I thought was kind of crazy. And they
Even more than the Cowboys?
even more than the Cowboys, shockingly.
Wow.
Yeah, but they didn't really increase too much of their defensive talent. They locked down. Who was it? Their defensive. Who am I thinking of, Blaine? They got Fletcher Cox. There it is. Sorry. Yeah, they locked down Fletcher Cox to a gigantic contract that ended up screwing up all defensive contracts in the whole market. But they have a decent pass rusher in him, and then okay linebacker in Connor Barwin.
Yeah, I mean,
And
at
then-
the end of his career.
Yeah, and then you've got this defensive backfield, which is just rough.
Yeah, not a lot going on in the Philadelphia secondary.
And they signed Malcolm Jenkins, and he's pretty good. Not great.
No, not a difference maker.
No. And they have Nick Perry, who they got last year from Alabama, but otherwise, I see a lot of the same things out of this Philly defense being pretty rough. And then offensively, we'll see what Sam Bradford or maybe even Chase Daniel. I understand that Sam Bradford is the starter, but if they come out struggling, Chase Daniel's going to see the field.
I think that if Bradford struggles enough and Chase Daniel, I don't think he's the answer by any means. I think we're going to see Carson Wentz by the end of the year.
Yeah, they did draft him that high, but I think that the idea was that they would they
Basically
would prefer
retro.
to not play him.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. They did draft him, and if they're going to be bad anyway, you might as well let the rookie learn.
the fans,
Especially
are
when he's coming from-
want it. What do I have the Eagles starting out at? 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6 losses right away. Out.
Ooh.
Yeah. Say they're sitting there at 0-6. They've tried Bradford for 3 games. They tried Daniel for 2 games. He loses 2. Eagle fans are going to want Carson Wentz. If you're going to use the number 2 pick, they're going to want to see that guy in the field.
True. And to that point, he's coming from North Dakota State, so it's not like he's playing NFL talent on defense in college. Like, he's got to get acclimated to the game. I just say maybe Chase Daniel because of Doug Peterson's relationship with him coming from Kansas City as well.
It could be, but I think those fans are going to want to see Wentz.
True. And then in the backfield, they got rid of DeMarco Murray. They still got Ryan Matthews and Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles, best, scat back in the NFL. And wide receiver-wise, Nelson Aguilar was okay. And then Jordan Matthews, pretty weak from a weapon standpoint on offense.
And they signed Ruben Randall, but nothing special.
Yeah. I don't have a ton of optimism for the Eagles. I think this is going to definitely be a building year, figuring out when Wentz will get on the field. If not this year, then next. Wang and I are going to do our record prediction. Then we've got a little feature for this podcast that we'll let Zack explain. But for my record prediction for the Eagles, I've got them going 4-12. I think they're going to beat the Browns. I think they'll beat the Falcons. Those are both at home. I think they're going to split with the Redskins. I can just see Washington losing a game they shouldn't. And then I think they will also beat Detroit on the road. But I think that'd be a high-scoring kind of shootout that they end up pulling out somehow.
Yeah, I'm a little more optimistic, but not much. I have the Eagles coming in the worst record in the division at 5-11.
All right. And then, Zach, tell the people what you're going to do for each team in this division.
So you guys are calling out record predictions, and I don't really know how to do any of that because I'm just not smart like you two fat guys over there. So I'm going to bust out some reckless predictions going off of what you said earlier about them starting off 0-6 rather. Yeah, 0-6. The entire city of Philadelphia decides, fuck this shit, and they burn the city to the ground. Put it down, get ready.
Outside of, from a sports landscape in Philly, the Phillies are terrible. The 76ers got Ben Simmons, but they're still going to be bad. The Flyers didn't win anything. It could happen.
They got nothing to look forward to. They've always been a football town out there. I mean, they got jail in the stadium, so they're crazy to begin with. So, yeah, look for the burning rubble and possibly some zombies. Eagles!
Okay, so Philly is going 4-12 or 5-11 and then burning to the ground. All right, moving on to the Washington Redskins. Wang, last year they went 9-7, won the division. Kind of sad for the division's sake, but no, won it
only because Romo and Dez were hurt.
There he is. Redskins 9-7 last year. Wang, who do you have for their key rivals and departures?
They probably have the biggest offseason acquisition, or one of at least, in Josh Norman. They also signed Greg Toller, a very solid corner from the Colts. And for some reason, they signed Vernon Davis when they already have Jordan Reed. But have two good tight ends. More power to you.
Yep. Speaking of the Josh Norman signing, kind of crazy. The Carolina Panthers gave him the franchise tag. Then they realized that there was no way they're going to be able to sign him after this season. So then they said, "Screw it, you're cut." And then 2 days later, he's a Redskin. You don't see that a ton, especially with a guy with his talent and how well he played last year. But Carolina, pretty ruthless, saying, "Screw it, get out of here."
I was stunned when they released him. I mean, he's one of the best corners in the NFL as of right now. I think the Redskins way overpaid for him. But when you're coming off a division-winning season, we were making fun of the Bengals in a previous podcast about being really good and not building on it. At least the Redskins are doing something, trying to get better in the division.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. I mean, you bring in a corner like that, and then you bolster offensively if Vernon Davis is anything anymore. But they had a decent offense down the stretch. They didn't play anybody good last year. They only beat one team. In those 9 wins, they only beat one team with a winning record. But you can't fault them for who they play. I mean, you just got to go out and win the games, exactly. And they did. And another big storyline that's going to be for the Redskins all year is Kirk Cousins' contract situation. he's actually playing under the franchise tag for Washington. Kirk Cousins came in the same draft as RG3, clearly won the job, just played better and didn't get hurt like RG3 did. And now he wants to get paid. I don't blame him, but then at the same time, I also don't blame Washington for being a little skeptical, giving him a big money deal, because it's like, I know we went to the playoffs last year, but then you lost, and we don't entirely know how good you are yet.
Yeah, the Redskins are 100% correct for having the wait-and-see notion right now. Because, yeah, Kirk Cousins was good last year. He won you the division. Screamed, you like that a bunch of times. But it's 1 year. You've had plenty of quarterbacks. Matt Castle got a big contract for 1 year in New England. You got to wait and see with these quarterbacks before you throw money at them.
Yeah, it didn't exactly go
Just
well.
ask the Cowboys.
Very true. The good thing is for Kirk Cousins this year, he's got some weapons to throw to. We already mentioned Jordan Reed at tight end, but Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson getting a little up there in age, but still effective. Jamison Crowder did pretty well last year. There's weapons to throw to, and then obviously handing it off, you're giving it to some new faces, because Alfred Morris left. He is now a Cowboy.
Yep.
Forgot about that. But
they're giving the ball. They have Matt Jones, and who's the other running back?
is it Silas Reed
That sounds right.
or Red? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a great question. We'll see who they're hanging it off to. We changed it from a positive to a question. Look at that. We're good. We'll see. I mean, obviously Alfred Morris was effective for him, but once they switched from that RG3 zone run style, his production went way down, and he doesn't seem to have that burst that the Redskins wanted him to have in Gruden's system, but he can still be effective, so it'll be interesting to see what they go for with running backs here.
Yeah, I think Matt Jones had a very quiet, good rookie season last year.
All right, switching over quickly to defense for the Redskins. We already mentioned, obviously, Josh Norman coming over and a couple other guys. That they have some talent back there. They have David Broughton Jr. and Duke Iheanacho, both former Broncos. Kind of interesting that they're putting those two back together since they weren't very good when they're on the field at the same time. But defensive line and pass rush wise, I don't like that. I don't have anybody on this team that I know immediately is going to get a ton of sacks or be a constant pressure. They have Ziggy Hood, who they signed, I think, away from the Lions.
Former Steeler.
Former Steeler, too. But outside of that, I don't see a ton of, exciting or huge potential for a pass rush in this front seven. Am I wrong, Wayne?
The only one I think you're missing is Ryan Kerrigan, who can get a pretty good pass rush, but he is really the only thing that they have going on that defense.
And he's got some injury issues, like not long-term ones,
Yeah,
but he's not been
beaten up
consistently.
recently.
True. Zack, obviously, the Cowboys have a long-standing rivalry. I would have to say that the NFC East has probably the best rivalries, just have for the length of time and importance to the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree.
In there, I mean, yeah. Just so, what are you feeling about your hated Redskins here?
Well, it kind of caught me off guard there. I was thinking about what my reckless prediction was going to be. There was talk on the radio during last season how the rivalry between the Redskins and the Cowboys has really kind of cooled off. It used to be back in the 70s and 80s. Like, those guys were going out there and they were legitimately trying to kill each other.
Uh-huh.
Like, people were surprised there weren't murder charges after some of those games. But, we've got a pretty passionate fan base down here. Out east, they think they're passionate. They don't know shit about shit. But so I mean that leads to some pretty heated games, to say the least.
And doesn't help that the couple of times the Cowboys had some must-win games, especially on like Monday night when Colt McCoy goes down to the Jerry's World and beats the Cowboys, and
Well,
okay.
I don't know nothing about that, but
But all right, let's jump over to our record predictions for the Redskins. I know I am a little pessimistic on them. I just think this Kirk Cousins contract situation, the running game being a little bit of a question mark, and I just think there are a lot of things that are going against them, and I just see them having a step back year. I've got to go in 5-11 with their wins coming one against the Giants. They're going to beat the Browns, beat the Eagles, the Lions, and then I think they beat the Bears.
I am actually a little higher on them. I think Kirk Cousins is a nice NFL quarterback. I don't think he's great by any means. But in the division he's playing in, nice might get the job done. I think they're going to repeat as 9-7, but I don't think that's good enough to win the division this year. So 9-7, just narrowly missing the playoffs.
Gotcha, okay. And Zach, what is your reckless prediction for our nation's capital here?
Donald Trump wins the presidency.
Well, okay, so
His
a little crazy. I like it.
His first official act is to nationalize the Washington Redskins. He changes their logo to a smoke signal because that makes sense to him. Everyone freaks out, and the Redskins go bankrupt with the combination of the smoke signal, and Donald Trump as the now owner and president. They make it through week 8 before the entire NFL is shooken up.
All right. So President Trump in this scenario so you're saying he buys the Redskins with the federal government money?
Well, he nationalizes it like they're doing with all the shit in Venezuela, taking over the oil fields and the food and all that.
I see what you're saying.
So it becomes truly America's football team, and then they're no longer in existence by week 8.
All right. Gotta pull USFL Part 2 on them. All right. All right, let's move on to the New York Giants. Still have Eli Manning. No more Tom Coughlin, though. Poor Tom Coughlin. Old man just couldn't figure out that clock management stuff, and then quote-unquote steps down, a.k.a. gets fired.
Yeah, I'm not saying poor Tom Coughlin at all. He accidentally won 2 Super Bowls against 2 insanely good Patriot teams. Not poor Tom Coughlin.
All right, fair enough. But last year finished 6-10, third in the NFC East. They lost a ton of games. I think it was like 4 games in the last minute. Terrible clock management. Just Eli out there looking like a mouth-breathing dummy, like usual. Just not helpful at all. And just the season started bad, ended poorly, and now they have a new coach. Is it Bob McAdoo, former? Was he? Am I wrong? Was he a Pittsburgh Steeler offensive coordinator one time?
I don't believe so. It's Ben McAdoo.
No? Okay. Something like that. But been with the Giants for a while. Eli likes him, so that's why they kind of just promoted from within. Wang, what do we got for acquisitions and departures?
They spent a boatload of money on Olivier Vernon from the Dolphins and Janoris Jenkins coming over from the Rams. And they also brought in Bobby Rainey from the Bucks, get a little running back depth. But then they lost Ruben Randall, like we said. They lost Robert Ayers. And they lost a really underrated cornerback, in my opinion, in Prince Amukamara, a former first-round pick, Prince Amukamara.
Yeah, and when he was on the field, he had a couple of injuries that kind of derailed a couple of seasons. But he was on the field, he was solid, and they were bad in the defensive backfield for a while. But let's start with their offense, Wayne. Obviously, we have Eli, and then Odell Beckham Jr., resident crazy person and a breakout star in the NFL. Like, that combination, I feel like that's every Giants fan is hanging their hat on that combination, figuring it out. Whatever the situation is, whatever they need, depend on Odell to make some crazy catch and save the game.
That's really their entire offense. Because their starting running back, I think, is going to be Rashad Jennings, which doesn't scare a lot of NFL defenses. They don't really have any protection for, I say protection like it's a major league lineup, but they don't have any protection for Odell Beckham, so he's going to see a lot of double coverages this year. Eli can get it out there, but with two guys on him, there's only so much Odell can do. I mean, they have Larry Donnell at tight end, who's a solid tight end, but he's not scaring NFL defenses. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I see Odell and Eli really taking the Giants to the promised land at all this year.
You know, there's a lot of hope for Victor Cruz to come back healthy, but that never happened last year, and you can't have those type of injuries that he had, and then he tries to come back, hurts the other knee, and now it's just like we've got a guy who hasn't played in a year with two bum knees.
Exactly.
I don't see it working out for him.
Yeah, they're not injuries that you just come back and be the same player you were, too.
For sure. And, I mean, we're looking at Eli Manning is going into his 13th year. And it's like, yeah, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and that's great. But we're looking at the last couple of years of Eli here. Is there going to be a physical diminishment soon, you feel like?
There almost has to be, but I mean, you saw it with Peyton. The Manning boys can play for what seems like forever. Eli, he gets hit a fair amount, but he knows how to protect himself, it seems like. So when he is taking the big shots, he's getting down, he's protecting himself. He's never really had major injuries. I think he had an ankle problem in the past that he got taken care of, but other than that, he's never missed big amounts of time. But eventually,
I think he's still got the active record for consecutive games by a quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, Brett Favre has the all-time record, but
which I don't think anybody is touching ever.
No, I don't think so either. But
yeah, eventually you got to think that the arm strength is going to start declining for Eli the same way it did with Peyton. I know he's not as old as Peyton yet, but Eli's older than you think.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, Peyton or Eli is not going to be able to make the throws that he did in the past, especially down the sideline where he was one of the better guys in the NFL of getting that ball out in front of guys so they could catch it and be running. That was one of his better skills, and soon enough it's going to decrease, and we'll have to see what they can do for him. One thing we haven't mentioned yet offensively, Shane Vereen, kind of a hybrid running back / receiver out of the backfield that killed it for the Patriots, but didn't do a ton for the Giants last season. I thought it was actually going to be a bigger move than it was. They got to figure out a way to get him going.
For sure. The running backs that the Giants have are not game changers by any means. Really since Tiki Barber left, they haven't had much going on at the running back position.
Oh, Tiki. Look, and defensively, you mentioned they signed Olivier Vernon to a bunch of money to put opposite the three-fingered man and Jason Pierre-Paul, who, even after coming back after his hand injury last year, just did not play well. I'm sure he's adjusting to the playing with a club and all that stuff, but just was not the same guy. And
I don't know if he ever will be, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be either.
To play defensive line.
Yeah, you need your hands.
You
have to be
grab
able to
people,
hand fight.
You got to throw people. You just can't do it with one hand.
For sure. And you mentioned, the defensive backfield losing some guys. They still have Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who's bounced around a few times, been in Denver, Arizona, now New York. Where was he before Denver? The Eagles?
Yeah, he's always been a solid corner.
Yeah, always been good. I mean, he's 30 this year, so this will be, if he can continue playing at least a decently high level, it'll be good for him just because, at that age, eventually you're going to lose a step and you have to start relying on a little more skill than speed. But they brought in Eli Apple, they drafted him, and then his mom somehow became a celebrity by hating on Thirsty Hose.
I do not like Eli Apple's mom.
I don't like that
you guys are going to have to fill me in on that story. I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay, so Eli Apple is a cornerback out of Ohio State. Gets drafted.
Yeah, he was a first-round draft pick for the Giants. I knew that.
Number 10. And then it was either draft night or the night before, Eli Apple's mom tweeted out, all you thirsty girls that are hitting up NFL players, new NFL players, DMs, need Jesus or something like that, essentially.
y'all motherfuckers need Jesus.
Yeah, it's like
Which is a
you're all
funny
hosed.
tweet, but not funny enough to get famous.
Yeah. So then this tweet blows up, and now Eli Apple's mom, is like a weekly correspondent on ESPN's NFL pregame show.
It's just a classic rags to riches story right there.
But it's just like,
we need to get Miss Apple talking to Miss Elliott to help our boy Zeke out down here.
We will get to Zeke because I got some feelings on that. But Eli Apple pairing up with DRC, I honestly think they'll be pretty good. Eli Apple was a solid corner at Ohio State. Obviously, it's a huge jump going from college to NFL, especially at corner. But if he can come in and be good, I mean, you're looking at Bradley Roby, a former Buckeye, killing it with the Broncos. Definitely has potential to be a pretty solid backfield in a division where you need them, because there are some good wide receivers in Dallas and then with Washington too.
I do kind of think the Giants took Eli Apple a little early. So I saw in a lot of mock
True
drafts
that.
he was going like late 20s, and I was hoping the Steelers might be able to pick him up. But to go 10th overall as a corner and not even really being a dominant corner in college, I hope he can make the transition, but I kind of hope he can't because his mom annoys me.
All right, good to know. All right, let's jump to our record predictions here. I have the Giants taking a step up a little bit. There's still a couple of pieces offensively away and defensively, actually, to being back in that contender role. I've got them going 9-7. They don't have a stretch of games that I feel confident saying they're going to win. They end the season with 2 road division games, so that'll be tough. They play the Rams in London this year, which I thought was kind of weird.
That is weird.
They're. I kind of got them going up and down. I'm trying to look at. There's a stretch where I see them lose. I have one stretch where they lose 3 in a row, but that's home against the Redskins. I think the Redskins steal that one from them, and then at Minnesota, at Green Bay. I think those are 3 straight losses. Mm-hmm. Both in those, Minnesota and Green Bay are both primetime games. So, so I got them going 9-7, missing the playoffs, but definitely a step up from the year before.
I have them taking a bit of a step up. Mainly it's because of the division they play in. I think they can. I have them at 7-9, which I don't think they're a 7-9 team. I think they're actually a little worse than that, just because I don't think Eli and Odell can carry the team to much further than 7-9. So I have them, but the product of the division that they play in, the NFC East has never been great, except for when the Eagles were dominating in the mid-2000s. Since then, it's been one of the most up-in-the-air divisions. I don't think there's been a repeat champion since like 2008 or something like that.
Yeah, no, since the Eagles. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so such a weird division. I think the Giants play a little better than they are and go 7-9 on the year.
Okay. All right, so before we get to Zach's reckless prediction, September 25th, Redskins at Giants. Over under halftime, first personal foul for Josh Norman and Odell.
I say under. They might both be
definitely under. It's got. I should have said first quarter.
Yeah. They are gonna go ape shit on each other.
I think one tackle from Norman on Odell, they're gonna get up and it's gonna be like an all-out brawl. It's gonna be like Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan.
It's gonna be like a baseball fight. Like the benches are gonna clear.
That'd be great. Oh my God, that'd be awesome. But all right, Zach, the hated New York Giants. I mean, if there's anything that Dallas people hate more than New Yorkers or just East Coast liberals, please tell me what it is.
I really think it's Philadelphia.
Is it Philadelphia? Okay.
I really do. From what I've been able to gather, if you just get behind hating Philadelphia, you're in.
I hear you there. But all right, so what do you got for our reckless prediction for New York?
As revenge for that dumbass face Eli was making during the Super Bowl last year, Peyton Manning slathers his jock in icy hot. Eli, being the dumbass mouth breather he is, doesn't know what's going on, finds his way to the doctor. Turns out he's got VD on top of the icy hot. His season's over. His career's over. The Manning family's out of the NFL.
All right. NFL without Manning. It would be like the first time in almost, 20 years?
Yeah.
That'd be all right. Oh, that'd be a bad look, especially for all the trash that they brought up about Peyton Manning right after the Super Bowl. Then Eli ends his career off of VD. Rough.
Poor guy.
It's tough out there for a pimp, man. You gotta keep your shit tight.
No kidding. Old Archie would just be sitting there like, oh, that's not good. Oh no. But all right, we saved the best for last, and the most passionate for last here. We will get going on here. The Dallas Cowboys, who arguably had the biggest disappointment season last year, finishing 4-12 after injuries to their two most important offensive players, Tony Romo and Dez Bryant. Zach,
Our only offensive players that last season.
all right, fair. Even though Darren McFadden did end up with like 1,100 yards rushing, but
That's not gonna cut it, man.
okay. Wang, what we got for arrivals and departures?
Really, the only key free agent I have them signing was Alfred Morris. Other than that, obviously their other big addition is Ezekiel Elliott coming to town. But besides that, I didn't really have any big departures either. The only one I had is Rolando McClain being suspended 10 games because he's dumb.
Oh, you're way behind, man. We got all kinds of troubles going on down here.
There are a lot of suspensions, and we'll get to that when we get to the defense. But let's start offensively. Obviously, Romo back. Some questions about his weight gain, or I think it was just a bad picture.
Yeah, I think it was
don't
just
think
a-
he's really that.
That's all way overblown. Way overblown.
That's all that was.
Yeah, and I think he might have been wearing a flak jacket because he's got 17 back injuries and surgeries. So
You gotta take care of yourself.
and more importantly, Tony Romo, he moves around in the pocket, but it's not like he's a scrambler.
No.
You don't need to worry about if he's maybe he put on a little muscle to hopefully sustain some of those hits that he knows he's going to take.
Exactly.
But so Tony Romo's going to be back. We'll see if he can get through a whole season healthy. He hadn't done that in a long time. Dez Bryant made a pretty good comeback last year. But then once Romo was out for the year, couldn't handle the backup quarterbacks and had some attitude problems.
Which is classic Dez.
Yes, classic Dez. Still have the ageless wonder, Jason Witten. In the AFC North podcast, we talked about, Heath Miller always being available on third down, getting first downs. That's basically what, Jason Witten's career has been.
Yeah.
Getting first downs and getting open in the red zone. So still have him to toss to. And then Gavin Escobar was actually a younger version, a little bit bigger, showed some promise. And then their offensive line, they took a step back last year. They weren't as good as they were 2 years ago, but they still have Tyron Smith, arguably the best left tackle in football right now. Zack Martin as a guard, who was an all-pro as a rookie, which rarely, if ever, happens. And then they have La'el Collins that they drafted last year, going to be solid. And then, Doug Free, Ryan Mack, they've got a solid offensive line. So, potentially keeping Romo upright has a little bit higher chance of happening this season.
And making holes for Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's the biggest thing the Cowboys need is a better run game.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Ezekiel Elliott here. Ezekiel Elliott is the same type of back as DeMarco Murray. He's a downhill guy. I think he's just got a better top speed once he does get through the hole.
And he's not as big, which I think is better.
Yeah, but he's as strong, I would say.
For sure.
He's got that same muscularness through the hole, and we saw it at Ohio State. He can handle a heavy workload.
True.
And that the Cowboys, if they have their way, they went 12-4 2 years ago by giving Darren McFadden, or excuse me, not Darren McFadden. Yeah, DeMarco Murray, thank you. DeMarco Murray a ton of carries and letting him lead the league in rushing, and then Tony Romo was more effective in the play action, and They're 12-4. We mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about Zeke running into some issues here. Essentially, the story here is that Ezekiel Elliott was accused of a domestic assault.
It was his live-in girlfriend, so I don't know if it counts as domestic because it took place in a car, allegedly.
Yeah. Either way,
let me give you guys the scoop here.
However, Zach, break it down.
So, exclusive today, heard this and was from people out at Oxnard right now. Apparently, on the day of the draft, this girl was calling all the NFL teams saying, don't draft Zeke, he beats me up. And everyone was just like, yeah, okay, you sound crazy, bye. So this isn't the first time this girl has gone out and said that Zeke's beating her up. According to Zeke and his people, they never even lived together.
Yep, I heard that too.
If all of this comes to light and it turns out that he was beating the crap out of her, let's run him out of town and fucking get him out of here. But, on the surface, it looks like we got one of them thirsty-ass hoes trying to run down that money.
True. And the crazy thing is I've heard the story, and Michael Irvin was actually on Rich Eisen's show, and then in the middle of the interview, Ezekiel Elliott called Michael Irvin. So then he's like, hey, Rich, hold on, let me talk to this guy. So then he calls back in later in the show, and Ezekiel's story is that they were out, Ezekiel and like 5 other friends, they were out for Ezekiel's birthday. They go to some club or whatever, they're out. This girl finds them, wasn't invited out, finds them at whatever club they were at. The group of 6 that were invited leaves the club because they're like, we don't want to be around this girl. Go back to Ezekiel's place. Girl follows them there. And then Ezekiel, trying to tell her to leave, gets in the car with her. And then later that night, while they're still at Ezekiel's house, the cops come, hey, did you beat this girl up? So, I'm with you, Zach. I hope it's not true. And if it is, yeah, screw him. But it definitely sounds like there's some potential here that it's just, a person that ruins it for all the other actual victims out there.
Say what you will about Jerry Jones, but I think they may have learned their lesson with Greg Hardy after last year.
Yeah.
If there was any real red flags about him, especially when it came to domestic violence, I don't think he was getting drafted 4th because everyone was losing their shit about drafting a running back 4th anyway. So, yeah.
This is true. One other quick note about their offense. They drafted Dak Prescott late in the draft. Quarterback that did pretty well at Mississippi State. Wasn't a ton of people that were very high on him, but the Cowboys drafted him, obviously, to try to develop a backup for Romo.
Which they desperately need. Their backup quarterback were so bad.
Yeah, and lost them some games.
You guys aren't on the Kellen Moore train? What about our boy Kellen Moore? Come on.
Yeah, he performed well? Question mark. But
no, I was trying to lay the sarcasm on pretty thick there. I'm sorry if that didn't come across.
The idea, at least it's smart to have an idea of, all right, hopefully we don't have to play him and he can learn, but allow Dak Prescott to get in the system and then hopefully be ready once Romo retires, because Romo is going to be done soon. He's entering year 14, a lot of back issues, lots of other issues, collarbone, everything like that. Eventually he's going to stop, being able to play.
Dak showed signs of being really good. He was a Heisman candidate for a while at Mississippi State until, he started throwing some dumb interceptions, but at least he's shown that it is possible for him to be a good quarterback.
True. All right, let's jump over to our record prediction here for the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys going 10-6 and winning the NFC East.
I have the Cowboys going 10-6 and winning the NFC East.
Oh, look at that. We're in agreement. My losses are, I think they're going to lose at San Francisco. I feel like their defense, that's going to be their last game of having all those guys suspended. I don't think they'll be able to keep up with the pace. They're going to lose to Cincy in Dallas, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh, at Minnesota, at New York.
I didn't write down what losses I gave them, and I wish I would have.
Yeah, so I think the only home game I got them losing is Cincinnati. So I think they will be able to be a pretty solid team, especially with that run game. And if the Cowboys find that formula from 2 years ago and are 12-4 again, I wouldn't be shocked. It very well could happen. The defense is going to need to make a bigger step up. They weren't very good last year. Going to have to figure it out, but the offense should be able to control the clock and control a lot of games.
I totally agree. I could totally see them outperforming what we've given them, and they could be one of the best teams in the NFC if Ezekiel Elliott is what they think he's going to be.
For sure. Zach, do you have a record prediction for your squad, or you want to go reckless right away?
Well, let's go straight with reckless. You guys ready for this?
I hope so.
Here we go.
Cowboys win the Super Bowl! Woo!
Not exactly. All right, you got to follow it up though, and then Dallas burns itself down in excitement.
Oh no! See, we don't in the South. We don't riot when our teams win. We just go out in the streets and party and have a grand old time. We're smart enough down here not to fuck up our own shit. Okay.
Oh my gosh! All right, but is that what you really think that the Cowboys got it this year to make that type of run?
If a couple of things go right, I think they could make it pretty deep into the playoffs. I mean, you guys didn't mention how I was just hearing this today. Sounds like Rolando McClain's about to get cut.
Well, yeah.
So
apparently, he is a purple drink addict.
Oh yeah, no, he's all about the scissor, and apparently he's like 40 pounds overweight because Jolly Ranchers, soda, and drugs will do that to you. If the Cowboys, like you were saying, can keep the ball for 40 minutes a game,
Yeah, I mean,
I think they can really.
Possession every game to win. Their defense is rough.
Yeah, no, they can. I think they can make a real run. I mean, it's hard to say that they're going to beat the Patriots or in the Super Bowl or whatever because I mean it's the fucking Patriots and all they do is cheat and win. So, but I think that if Romo can stay healthy, and obviously that's a huge if. They love to talk about down here how good the offensive line is, but you're going to get sacked. You're going to get put on the ground. And as long as his collarbone doesn't snap like a wishbone, I think we got a good shot at doing some cool things this year.
All right, I like it. That was a good little NFC preview, NFC East preview, I should say. Tough division to call. So wide open. I mean, you can make a case for everybody in this division winning this division, except in my opinion, Philly. I don't think they're there yet. But
they're the one team I don't see happening.
I think everybody else. I mean, there's a shot for everyone else, and it's going to be kind of crazy. I think just the Cowboys had the best formula with that offensive line in a run game. So we will see how it plays out. But
do you wanna,
Zach,
you wanna
good job, first
picks?
time on the podcast.
You should recap your picks.
Oh yeah, sorry. All right. So my picks are the Cowboys going 10-6, winning the division, only playoff representative. Giants going 9-7, Redskins 5-11, Eagles 4-12.
And I too went with the Cowboys winning the division at 10-6, being the only team making the playoffs. Redskins come in just missing out at 9-7. Giants take a few steps back at 7-9, and the Eagles don't really improve, wasting a year going 5-11.
And Zach, why don't you recap your reckless predictions for us?
So Philadelphia's going to burn to the ground.
Got it.
Eli Manning's got the clap, and he's done.
All right.
Washington Redskins are run out of the NFL by Donald Trump and an angry American populace.
All right.
And the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. Woo!
All right. That was it. Oh, that was a good one. Zach, good job for the first time, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Wang, tell people where they can find us.
Tweet at us at Fat Guys, capital N as in Nancy. Follow us on Facebook, Fat Guys and Friends. Email us, fatguysandfriends@gmail.com. We don't get nearly enough emails. Or download, like, and subscribe to us on iTunes.
Got him on the iTunes. Wang did that. By the way, you said our Twitter handle wrong. It's Fat Guys and like Nancy and then Friends.
Oh, what did I say?
You just stopped at Nancy.
No, really?
Yeah, I thought that was a weird handle. I was like, man, you might want to fix that.
Good thing you're here.
Fat Guys and Friends, everybody. But we will be back with continuing our NFL previews. Different division next time, but until then, have a good one, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thanks for having me.